this show contains adult content. Sounds Like Crows is sponsored by Ariel Weiss, Double Up Omega, Suzanne Hagen, and T, along with all of our other patrons at patreon.com/Sounds Like Crows. Hey folks, Caleb here. First of all, this episode is a bit shorter than normal. Secondly, it will not feature a letter to Lucky. However, next week it will return to its normal length, our show that is, and secondly, we will have a letter to Lucky next week. But more importantly than that, if you want to play in a game with me, we are running a competition for the month of May. If you leave us a rating and a written review on iTunes, we're going to pick from all the people that have written a review for us and given us a rating, preferably 5 stars, but that's up to you, past and present. So if you had written a review previously, you're already entered in. As soon as May's over, we're going to roll some dice and we're going to figure out who we're going to invite to play with us. If you don't want to play with me, I totally get it, or maybe you don't have the equipment or the time. If you want to opt out of playing the game, we're going to send you some merchandise. Cameron Reed's going to figure it out, and he's on the record now, but he said he was going to get some t-shirts for you folks. So leave us a rating on iTunes, give us a written review by the end of May, and you could win a game with me and a few of the Crow Brothers, or you could win a t-shirt. With all that out of the way, folks, welcome back to the Weird West. The camera flies backwards through one of the canyons in the Great Maze at night, and we see first the ship that's leading up the convoy of Coronel Manuel Mondrian. It's the newer ironclad that looks like a submarine half submerged in the water. Those turrets on top of it are useless at the moment as the upright gang has boarded the ship. Men and women armed with cutlasses and revolvers assault the top of the ship and find a way in the metal beast. The camera flies then backwards over the old ironclad ship that's been broken. It's had its spine split and one of its masts taken down by the large collection of cannon fire coming from the nearby cave where the upright gang was hiding in. The camera then flies back over the Carne de Oso, the large galleon of the Mexican colonel, Mondrian. We then cut to him as he's piloting the ship, his silky black hair being blown forward from behind his back as the gust of air that's propelling the giant sails among him. He's wrangling them to turn port side. He's wrangling them to turn left. And the ship is pulling away from the gunfight into a nearby channel. The camera moves around him 180 degrees, and we can see many of the Crow boys on the deck of the ship, along with the ruined remnants of the Mexican army that Mondrian once commanded, riddled and ventilated with the holes of the cannon fire from up above. And the camera turns around. While we keep him in the foreground, you can see the cannons on top slowly losing their field of vision. And there's that gas cloud, that almost mustard-like gas that was launched from the mortar off the deck of the ship you boys are on. And the screams of men dying both to the gas, to each other, and to the creature that left your ship can be heard echoing through the canyon as Mondrian turns away from the fight and from the rest of his convoy. Where is everyone on the deck of the ship?
Dying.
Yeah, yeah.
Me, Ellis, and Abel, I believe, are near the mast.
I am on the mast.
You are on the mast.
Feet up, if I remember correctly.
Right.
I'm only 15 feet out.
Do you think you're still climbing up them?
I mean, if we're going to get into it, my immediate reaction would be to look around for this doctor first. If I find him, I was going to jump off the mast and drag that son of a bitch over to Lucky to try and get him to work on him.
Since you're doing it sort of cinematically, I don't think you need to take any fall damage.
Cool.
I think you look around to the bow of the ship and you see him like moving body to body, seeing who he can help. There's lots of people screaming on the deck, lots of people, like spasming. So you jump, grab a hold of one of the ropes, one of the rigging, use it to break your fall as you land on the deck near him, and you run up to him. He doesn't seem to be paying any attention to you.
I just want to grab him by the back of the shirt. We got a patient over here for you, Doc.
There's patients everywhere.
Not like this one. You're coming with me. Come on.
His immediate reaction is to look to Mondrian, who's helming the ship, and then he follows with you. So the doctor and Ellis run over to see you, just blood running over all of your wounds through your sky blue vest. And he comes over and he starts to check you out. I guess he's gonna make a medicine roll.
Do we want to wait for him to get the device, or are we just fucking doing this now?
He's just going to do
Let's
it.
see what he can do it.
Yep.
He's got a D8 in healing. He rolls a 1.
Oh, he's a wild card though, isn't he?
Caleb is gonna spend a Benny on this.
Oh, cool. Thanks, Caleb.
Thanks, Caleb.
5. He heals 1 wound.
No,
No,
because he's
at
minus
negative
3 from the wound penalties.
How do I feel, Caleb?
He comes up to you, and the first thing he does is he starts to look at it, and he says, I need to look at that wound. And he grabs for your vest and rips the buttons apart.
What? Can I stop him before he does such?
Yeah,
Get
sure.
the buttons fixed, dude.
Sure, yeah.
At least
All right,
it's gonna
I'm
cut it
going
off
to make
you.
an agility roll. That makes sense, right?
Yeah, minus your wounds to see if you have the presence of mind to stop him.
Yes.
It's a 2.
I'm going to spend a Benny on that.
This is a Benny to save the
To save his vest. You might want to flip a...
Blowing up the 6.
baby.
A 6.
baby.
That's not the roll you wanted that to
All
blow
right,
up.
15. That's exactly the roll I wanted that.
It's a 12
If he's going out.
after your minuses.
Yes.
So he reaches for your buttons to snap them and pull off your vest.
Just before he starts to rip it, with all renewed vigor and strength, the last of what Lucky has, he commands his right arm to grab his, and he grabs it, gives him a stern look in the eye, and says, "Not the vest."
He exchanges a look between you and Ellis, who brought him over, and then nods and just moves it up a little bit on the side of your body. And then he pulls out some scissors and cuts through your shirt underneath, and then looks at your side. He's a man that's seen a lot of wounds in his time, but even he grimaces as he looks at the extent of the wounds underneath. And since he rolled a 5, -3 to a 2, he just shakes his head, looks up at Ellis, and says, "He's gone. I have to worry about someone I can save."
No. Wait here, Doc. We got something. Abel, where's that thing? The device you told me about.
Abel is standing nearby, sort of in a guarded stance. If anybody comes close, he's prepared to shoot. And when Ellis speaks to him, he looks thoughtful for a moment and then nods and sprints toward the stairs down into the hull of the ship.
Just give us 30 seconds.
The doctor nods. He looks around to some of the other patients and starts to give instructions to some of his apprentices. We look back to Mondrian, who's helming the ship. He looks tired, even though he hasn't been up that long. He's got bags underneath his eyes, and there's his clothes are covered in soot. And the way that the wind is blowing is sort of pressing his jacket up against him. And he's got to make a boating roll.
Boating roll. Holy cow, that's specific.
He's got a 6, which right now is enough. As we've stated, the Carne de Oso is a huge ship. You should not bring something like this into the maze. And whether it's because of his hubris or out of necessity, he's brought it in here. So, he's gripping this wheel really tight. We get a shot of his red-knuckled fists holding on to it. And then we cut to one side of the ship where you can see it's just a few feet away from the edge of this mesa wall. One cannon that's popping out of the side of the ship hits a piece of outcropped rock and sort of scrapes it and then cracks it off, and it splashes into the water below as Abel appears with the healing gun given to the Crow Boys by the trapper back in Tombstone.
Abel starts to fiddle with it, trying to figure out how to turn it on or use it.
Don't.
He's not the one that used it before, so he's fumbling a little bit, and he looks to Ellis and Lucky. Shit, you boys remember how to do this?
I wasn't there for that.
Lucky coughs. Just don't let Abel do it.
Come on, let the doctor
It'll be
do
fine.
it.
It'll be fine, Lucky. And Abel switches a few more dials and flips on another switch, and you can hear it start powering up.
The doctor looks at the gun, sort of looks at some of the protrusions coming off it, and then he sort of clears away the blood and points to the various holes, and guides the gun in.
Abel's intention would be to turn it on and then give it to the doctor to actually do the work with.
The doctor looks at it. He finds the trigger, and with some apprehension, although not that much, he's pretty used to this sort of technology, pulls the trigger. He's going to roll a healing roll.
Have we talked about what this sounds like? Because I keep picturing like a sewing machine.
Oh, that's cool.
Does it use
That's
Ghost
very
Rock
cool.
at all?
It does
I
use
mean, it's
Ghost
gotta,
Rock.
right?
Yeah.
So it's got a little bit of a screech
It's a
to it.
Yeah, I
screaming
guess.
ghost.
Which, I mean, that could be sewing machine-esque.
Yeah.
You know?
I think it is like
Like a
Yeah,
sewing
that's what I'm
machine the
picturing.
devil would use.
Yeah, dude.
I think 2, you can hear the flame that cauterizes your flesh after he's done. So he's rolling a D8. How mad science works is that you, like if you make a gun, you use a shooting roll to use that gun, even though it's technically a weird science roll. So this is a healing roll using a mad science device. This gun, unlike the normal healing skill and the healing spell, does not take any negatives from your wound modifiers. So we're going to roll a D8.
That's really convenient.
He rolled a 1.
Can I give him one of my minis?
Kidding me.
How do I feel, Caleb?
I know how that
Am I
feels.
looking good now?
Holy shit.
I've been here before.
Well,
Yeah, dude. How did this happen? When did I become Marshall?
let's hope we don't kill Lucky. Let me look at this up.
Wasn't it like if you roll a 1, though, it explodes?
Oh.
Like,
Yeah,
end
If
of
it's a
story.
mad scientist device.
Uh-oh.
Yeah.
Oh.
I mean, all
I
right.
think it's
See you guys.
3d6.
In
But
a
I'm not
medi-
sure.
In a medium
It just
burst.
explodes.
you're
There isn't
right.
a table.
I don't know.
No.
You tell us,
It's on
dude.
here, Caleb.
I don't think so.
At the very
I'll find
least,
it
it
real quick if you
malfunctions.
want. It does, yeah.
Oh, right. I think it malfunctions.
Playing a
when there
mad
is table.
scientist. Here it is.
Because there's one where it's like
2d6.
jams or something like that. Or
It explodes. The bad news is whenever someone is using a mad scientist gizmo rolls a 1 on their trait die, regardless of the wild die, it explodes, erupts, or otherwise breaks in the most spectacular and injurious manner possible. Remember, this ghost rock is volatile stuff. The work of demons, Caleb. The work
yeah,
of demons.
thanks, guys.
This causes 2d6 damage and a medium burst template centered on the user. The gizmo is ruined until repaired.
If one of you wants to flip a Providence chip, I will let this not affect Lucky.
Oh, well, how's that gonna
Hey,
happen?
Caleb, if we flip 2 Providence chips, can we use another Benny to re-roll that?
What would happen if it did hit me? 2d6.
2d6.
What happens when I go incapacitated? Like, what happens when I take one more?
You roll to die.
You make one roll,
Yeah.
and if you fail, you die. If you succeed, you make one roll at -4, and if you fail, you die.
-3.
-3.
Oh,
But
okay.
I have harder to kill, so I don't take those.
Right, yeah.
I guess I could still
If you
fail I got
succeed.
stink eyes.
Yeah. Well, if you just fail.
Well, what's fail? Below 4?
Yeah.
I would have to roll 4 on 2d6.
Yeah.
What would it be, a vigor roll?
It's a vigor roll. And you would have to take enough damage on the 2d6 explosion that you would take a wound.
What happens if we flip the Providence, the dive on the bomb, and get the crow?
Well, we don't know yet, right?
Don't know yet.
We
Yeah.
don't know yet.
I'd come up with something
So
catastrophic.
you want one of us to dive on this bomb for him?
I'll flip it. It would make sense for Abel to do it because he's seen this in use, so he could see it like start to go wrong and jam
Yeah.
up or something.
All right, Isaac. Now you got to pick 1, 2, 3, 4.
And what happens if we get the crow on this?
Who knows?
We don't know yet.
Dies.
No, we
There's
don't
no
know
other
that.
way. He's already
I'm gonna
without the
take chip number
I
1.
disagree.
Chip number 1. It's the crow.
Jesus.
Son of a bitch.
Oh, no.
I trusted you, Abel. I trusted you. So your intention, Abel, was to stop 2d6 damage from being applied to Lucky. We knew it was going to happen to like all you guys, but you were going to try to stop it from Lucky. So why don't you tell me how you're stopping this gun, how you see it, that it's going to explode, and then I'll take it from there.
As the gun fires up and begins to go through its little steps, it starts to sort of hiccup and cough like an engine that's dying and trying to fight through it. And Abel, already suspicious of this doctor, has been like leaning way closer than is comfortable. And as the device starts to go sideways, the screaming gets louder and the mechanical clunks and whirs get more grindy sounding. He just reaches in, grabs it with 2 hands, and just tries to chuck it as far away as possible.
So I think you grab it and you go to chuck it, and it's like right behind your head, and then we see it explode. You're going to take 4d6.
Oof.
Oh, you still going to take the damage for us?
Yeah.
Thanks, Abel. You did it,
Just-
man.
No problem, boys.
4d6.
22.
The Crow Bros.
22 damage.
You can soak that. That's no big deal.
Got
to
3
you.
bennies.
This is Abel we're talking about here, guys. You can soak that.
Okay, so 22. I have a toughness of 5, so it's 17 over.
Yeah.
Right now, that means I take
4 wounds.
If I spend a Benny to soak, I roll a vigor plus wild die, yeah?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, that's a d6. 5.
That's not good.
5.
You also have
So
a blue Benny that you could use to add a d6 to that.
I'll spend the blue bunny to add to that 5. 4 puts me at 9, so that should be a success and a raise.
Yep.
So 2 wounds.
So you're at -2.
So there is a burst of shrapnel that goes around your head. There's an explosion. Your ears start to ring along with everyone around you. And these hot pieces of shrapnel are just embedded in the back of your head, in the back of your neck. And it's that mixture of burning and liquid that almost reminds you of how you got those scars in the first place, as that cold, hot blood runs down the back of your neck. The doctor falls back on his ass.
Ellis just kind of shields his eyes from this blast. Fuck. Doc, get to work on him.
The doc sort of shakes his head loose, but before he gets a chance to really react any further, we cut up above to the ridge of the mesa of the canyon that you're sailing through at the moment. The camera starts looking down at the ship with its lanterns and the cannon fire in the background. It's slowly sort of fading from. And then the camera pulls back as we see a booted figure that's kneeling there. And he stands up and we can't see his face, but he starts to walk towards the camera and the camera follows him back to these, it almost looks like a large slingshot or a large crossbow. And it's got this massive hook attached to it that a few people are loading it onto the device. It doesn't have wheels. It has 4 of these mechanical legs that are embedded into the dusty ground around it. They pull a lever and kick it upwards and it fires. And you can see there's this rope that's coiled at the bottom that's attached to this arrow-like harpoon that flies off, arcing in the air. And we follow it as it launches up through the air, and we can see that there are people on top of the 2 mesa walls that the ship is going through. And as the hook starts to come down through the air and scream towards the ship, you can see it's followed by 3 other hooks. I'm going to make 3 shooting rolls. 2 hits. So on the deck of the ship, as the dock sort of starts to get to his feet, 2 hooks miss the ship and splash into the water around you. And then 2 hooks embed themselves through the first deck of the ship. And then the ropes start to fall around them. And then off the top of the cliff, 2 anchors are kicked. And they pull the rope down as it splashes heavily into the water. All 4 anchors quickly drop to the bottom, and the ship within a few seconds starts to get caught up by these ropes around them. We're gonna...
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, we're gonna deal some initiative. The familiar voice of the Cola Kid echoes through the canyons of the Great Maze as he speaks similarly to a revival tent preacher or something like that. Hear me, those who stand upon the ship below. The time of the Lord is come. And if you are to give up your arms, now is the time. For through the mouths of babes, the truth will be spoken. From the tops of this foggy cliffside, jump figures out of the night. There's not many Mexican soldiers left standing on the deck of the ship, so none of them fire as these figures come out of the night. And as they come closer to the deck, you see children, teenagers, 10 to 16. They don't seem to be armed, but they all seem to be holding objects or bottles filled with various liquids. To you now, they seem like children, but it is strange to think that most of you left on your own about the same point in your life that these children did. As they start to descend to the deck of the ship, they're pulled by people on the top and quickly decelerated. They've got harnesses over their chests and they've got ropes attached to their harnesses, and they land on the deck of the ship looking slightly scared. And together they speak in unison as one of the boys starts to draw breath. The rest of the children speak with him, and they go, "He is risen." And then from above you, a chorus of older voices ring out, echoing through the canyon. He is risen indeed.
I thought we were going to do a group thing.
You could have.
That's
Yeah.
staying in.
I thought we were all doing it, and then it was just me.
Yeah, you could have.
That's of course. One other guy. Another guy.
And then the voice of the Cola Kid. So, servants of the unholy, will you see the light of our Father, or will we have to bring you to it?
I think for the first time you can see Harper stepping out from the place that he's been hiding. He's been up against one of the staircases that go up to the top of the ship. He's kept his back up against a wall, just trying to make himself inconspicuous. And he kind of slowly moves out once it sounds like the shooting has stopped and something a little more interesting is happening. He sees the kids come down and he hears the yelling. And I think for the first time, he notices what has happened to Lucky and Abel. And he kind of is watching from his little spot over, just keeping an eye on them, and he hasn't really made himself known yet.
I just ignore this guy. I want to try and get Lucky down the lower deck.
Dude, I'm down. I'm dead, dude.
You're not dead yet.
You want to spend this time while they're dropping down to move Lucky.
Yeah, I want to tell the doc to get working on Abel here, and I want to I'm going to pick Lucky up like he's a little baby and cradle him in my arms, and I'm going to carry him down and put him in his little hammock down there.
What?
Abel is mildly concussed and in a lot of pain, but he's able to fight through it enough to stagger up to his feet, grab the doctor by the lapel, and drag him along behind as he stumbles after Ellis, carrying Lucky.
As Lucky's getting carried. No, else they're just gonna blow it up.
And I guess we're all dead, aren't we?
I guess with the fucking Cola Kid, we're dead either way.
I don't think you're in any position to swim there, Lucky. It's the best option we've got. Where the fuck is Harper? Where's Thaddeus?
Where the hell's the lifeboats? Let's get the hell off this thing.
Mondrian is like lurched forward along with the rest of you and along with the kids as the anchors on the bottom of the maze like bring the ship to a grinding, stuttering stop until they finally like grip into something solid on the bank below. He steps out from behind the wheel, looks at the ropes that are holding the ship down, and then shouts up, seemingly just to the air, "I'll never give you my ship."
As the colonel shouts his defiance, Abel pauses for a moment, looks behind him, and sees the horde of children holding what looks to him to be napalm or grenades of some sort. He lets go of the doctor, reaches down for the pistol, and fuck this, whips it up and shoots at Mondragon.
Thank you for listening to Sounds Like Crows. If you like the show, leave us a rating and a written review on iTunes. If you do that, you'll be entered in to win either a t-shirt or to play in a game with yours truly and some of the other Crow brothers as well. Check out our Patreon if you want to join in the conversation on Discord with a bunch of other listeners. And with that out of the way, let's talk about cast. Thanks to Marshall Sims for playing Thaddeus Crow. You can find him on Twitter at Mr. Malicious1. Thanks to my brother Isaac Sunstead for portraying Abel Crow. He's at Abel the Crow on Twitter. Then you've got Ellis_Crow at Ellis_Crow, played by Alex Horrell. And then Lucky is played by Cameron Day, who's not on social media, but he is on our Discord. If you want to back us on Patreon, you can come talk to him. Man, that's a bad plug, Caleb. And then we have Cameron Reed, Little Baby Daisy Crow at CJ Reed 211, and I'm Caleb Sunstead at Marshall Caleb. With all that out of the way, the music was done by Levi Rojas and Rudy Zuniga. Deadlands Reloaded and Savage Worlds is owned by the Pinnacle Entertainment Group. I think that's it. Have a good day. Have a good night. Whatever time it is there, I hope it's wonderful. And as always, we'll see you next Monday.
You tell me exactly how wounded I am. I picture pretty fucked up. But I can also... I'd like to shoot Mondragon right before we go down below decks. Like as soon as he spouts off with that, I'd like to just shoot him.
Holy shit.
You're crazy, Abel.
Just pop a shot at him while we go under.
Well, it's one way to solve our problems.
While
That's not a bad-
creating like
that's not a bad
400
play.
other ones.
That's not a bad play. If we kill him, we can surrender.
I think we could surrender either way.
You think so?
But
I think Mondragon's going to shoot us if we try to surrender.
I think if we
Definitely
try, I think if we shoot Mondragon,
No, this-
we got the
so
whole
This
Mexican army
lifeboat
after
option
us,
might
right?
not be bad.
So your play is to kill the Mexicans that remain and then surrender?
To the pirates?
Yeah. So basically, you want to declare war on Mexico and then
No
surrender
witnesses.
to,
No, I'm not saying it's a bad idea. It's just not what I anticipate. I want to make sure
I'd
that.
say that's a bad idea. But
All right.
Abel
So-
does
What would Abel do?
Yeah.
Abel does what
Fuck,
Abel do.
fuck what's a good idea. What does Abel do?
Is everyone comfortable with Abel doing that?
I mean, it's
No.
his
Out
character.
of
What
char-
would
out
Abel
of
do?
character?
Out of character, absolutely. That's
Okay.
gonna cut
Just
so
do
much
it.
mess, dude.
Sweet.
Yeah. I mean, if Abel
Okay,
doesn't do it,
yeah.
it's just like 4 more episodes, and then Thaddeus is going to do something.
Okay, sure.
What the fuck does that mean?
So let's take a step back then, and then let's take a step back if you're going to do that. So before they throw the bottles, like Mondrian steps forward, and you just raise Howard's big iron.
Like as soon
Take
as
a
he
shot.
says,
Hey dogs, wake up! Wake up! Stop dreaming.
what did he say? He said,
I'll never give you my ship.
Yeah.
as
never
soon as
give
he
you my
says
shit.
that, Abel's like, fuck that. And he just takes the
Yeah.
shot.